Hello everyone, and thank you for taking the time to watch this video. My name is Willow Green, and I'm going to go over some of the questions that I'm asked the most about the mind of an addict. And these are the conversations that I have with people I meet, with clients, to help them really understand what is happening inside of the mind. I am going on 5 years sober. I am author of I'm Sober, Now What? Moving Through the Fear, Anxiety, and Humility of Life and Life's Terms. And I'm here to tell you that even after 5 years almost, it's a process. It's not a destination. It's a journey. It's a commitment. The choice to actually get sober or get clean is the first step. And from there, that's when everything unfolds. And unfortunately, we have to go through the pain, through the trauma, through everything that we created and held back in order to get to the other side, to the joy, to the peace, to the love, to the happiness that we all seek. And so I'm kind of going to share what that's like and what it's like inside of the mind. When we first get sober, we're stuck emotionally at the age that we were when we first started using. The process is we use drugs, alcohol, or whatever food, sex, whatever addiction it is that we have is a replacement for feeling. We stuff our feelings. So when we get sober, depending on how long we haven't felt anything in our body for a long time. And so the process of feeling, the process of self-discovery is very painful. The process of being present is very painful. And what happens in the mind, because we're emotionally trapped, so now we're adults that are emotionally trapped, usually as teenagers or young children. And so our mind isn't processing right. We never learned how to process, how to make proper decisions, how to make choices, how to even know that there were choices. Most times I don't know that we even know that there are choices. So some of the common things that I go over. So that's the emotional entrapment. On top of that, what happens physically is we trap trauma in ourselves. When you tense up, like think, and anyone can relate to this, think about when you meet somebody or you're in an uncomfortable situation and you feel that tension and that tightness in your body. Well, after time, that tension or that tightness becomes unconscious and it's with us and we don't even know it. We don't even realize how much tension we're carrying, how much pain we're carrying, how tight our body actually is. I remember when I first went to one of my mentors getting sober, and I was sitting there like this, and they said, take the hanger out of your shirt. Relax your shoulders. I didn't even know what that meant. I didn't even understand how much tension or pain I was carrying in my shoulders, in my back, and what was happening in my body. And most of us don't. And moving through and releasing that and opening up that movement and that flow and feeling again is painful at first, and it causes a lot of emotion. For those that have never been trapped in addiction, think of it like your leg falling asleep. If your leg is asleep and you stand up and you start feeling it again, first you have to go through the numbness, then you go through pins and needles, then you go through pain, then your leg feels normal again. So that's what's happening to an addict. That's what's happening to our body. We've been trapped in that numbness for so long that first we have to be willing to feel. And then the pins and needles start, and it's painful and it's terrifying because when your entire body is pins and needles, think about when you go to stand on your leg, you're not sure if it's going to hold you. You're not sure if it's strong enough because you don't have full feeling, full energy flow through it. So that's the experience in our entire life, in our entire being, in our entire body. It's that fear. The fear of, am I going to be supported? How am I going to do this? What now? Who am I without my story? Who am I? Who am I? How do I handle this? This pain is so intense. Is it ever going to stop? Because when you're in that pain, you don't know if it's ever going to stop. It's terrifying. It's terrifying and it's emotional and you just want it to stop. So what happens in the mind as we start processing this, and what is happening to someone who is still using or that is still stuck in that story? Imagine when you're in a house and you see those sheer curtains, those sheer white ones that you can see through that are decorative and beautiful. They go behind your thick, heavy curtains. Now imagine when an event happens, or they meet someone, or you meet someone and it triggers a story. And so now instead of seeing the person in front of us, we're seeing that story. We're seeing that curtain. And that curtain creates fear and then reminds us of another memory and curtain. So we have tons of these curtains all playing different movies, which are different memories of fear. This event that just triggered me is taking me to this event, which is taking me to this event, which is reminding me of this event. And we're so caught up in our stories in our head thinking, oh my gosh, this reminds me of fear. Now I have to be defensive. Now I'm going to tense up. Now I have to fight. I'm in survival mode. Last time this was scary. And so they're not fully present. And this happens with so many situations. When we're trapped in that story, we can't see what's in front of us. And oftentimes, if there's two people trapped in that in their own stories, then what's happening is I'm triggering you and you're triggering me, and we're both going back and forth, but we're reacting from the stories. We're reacting from the past. We're reacting from the fear versus understanding what's happening and what's right in front of our face. So it's almost like two people, they're having their own experience and neither one actually involved the other or is about the other. They're just triggers for each other. So when you love an addict, or you love someone, or you love yourself, you're no longer trapped in the curtains. You're able to be fully present. There's no longer that fear mode. I think when I got sober in the last 5 years, I burned down 5 houses full of thousands of curtains because I was so trapped in the story and so triggered in the past that I didn't know how to be in the present. It was constantly fear mode. It was in survival mode. Everything that happened, I made it about me. I needed to figure out, okay, how am I going to navigate this? How am I going to get something out of this? What is this teaching me? And I would react from past circumstances versus realize that I'm not sick anymore. I'm not trapped anymore. That I'm not in that traumatic experience anymore. And so it's a process of learning that this is a new experience. And so when I work with clients, I give them the same compassion and love that was given to me. The only way to get through the curtains is when someone reacts with anger, rage, sadness, and fear, to meet that with love and compassion. And we can only meet that with love and compassion if we have love and compassion for ourselves first. We can only give something we have or understand. That took me a long time to get to. I remember one of my sponsors saying, Willow, you have to be compassionate for yourself first. You have to be compassionate. And I said, I don't know what you're talking about. I am compassionate. And I said it with this anger in my voice because I didn't even understand what compassion was. I didn't have compassion for myself. I didn't love myself. I didn't even understand the concept of it. I thought I did, but I was still looking and seeking approval from outside sources. And so what helped me move through this rage, move through this anger, was physical movement, because it's trapped in the body. It's trapped. We have to shake it out. It's painful. And so there's so many different exercises that that you can go through to release this pain. One of them is just and really breath work. Breath work is amazing. Breath work is one of the things that it's actually the most empowering thing I've learned, because our breath controls everything. Our breath controls and regulates our body. It controls our thoughts. It controls everything. And it's the pathway to nourishment. Our mind follows our breath. So when we have shallow, deep breaths, that's usually connected to anxiety. When we can slow the breath down, it slows the mind down. And one of the ways to do that is just counting. Focusing on the breath and count, do box breathing when you count. For an example, count in for 5, hold for 5, release for 5, hold for 5. And let's do it a couple more times. Can you feel the difference in your own energy, in your own mind, just from doing that a couple times? There's very simple steps that we can take to help just calm the mind and get present. Another aspect of the recovery process is understanding body armor. Along with all the movies in our head, it's connected to a type of body armor. Inherently, we all desperately seek connection, approval, love, community. We're human beings. We're not meant to be alone or to live alone. It's not survival of the fittest necessarily. It's how can we come together as a community? How can we love each other without judgment? And how do we feel accepted? But the first process to being accepted is accepting yourself. Because if you can't accept yourself, you can't accept another human being. Please forgive the fun Humpty Dumpty story if you can hear it. I'm in a library right now. And so anyway, body armor. What we desperately want more than anything is to connect. But we have the layers. So in our mind, we have the movies. And when we go to actually touch another human being, I'm putting my hand out to touch you right now, I've got all these layers from abuse, from fear, from trauma. And so imagine my hand trying to get through all these layers of my body armor to actually touch you. And then imagine all of your layers, your fear, your trauma, whatever you've been through. And so my hand that's desperately trying to do this, after pushing through all my layers and then getting through your layers, ends up punching, is what it feels like. We're emotionally punching each other. And so two people that are moving through trauma at the same time, when you get punched like that, take it personal and say, why did you hit me? When in reality, they're trying to just say, I love you. It's a desperation to connect that comes across aggressive, abusive, painful, because we don't have the skills or the ability or the tools to connect properly. So when we love ourselves and when we're in this place of wholeness and self-love and self-acceptance, when that punch comes, we're able to meet it with compassion and love and say, wow, I know that took a lot for you. I see your pain. I recognize you're trying to connect. How can we move through this together? When I get punched, it's not personal. It's never about me. Just like when I punched other people, my intention was never to hurt them. When I was emotionally letting things out, I never wanted to hurt another person. I still don't ever want to hurt another person. It was my desperate attempt to seek approval, get love, connect. All I wanted was a hug. All I wanted was someone to love me. And I didn't know how to do it. All I knew how to do was fight or get attention in a way that was aggressive. And so I learned, I had to learn, but I had to move through that. And so when you feel like you're getting sucker punched by someone you love, trapped in the addiction, recognize they're trapped in a story, they're trapped in body armor. And what they're really saying is, I love you and I desperately want to connect with you and I don't know how. And so the best way to meet that is with compassion. Don't fight back. Don't tell them what's wrong with them. They already know what's wrong with them. They already hate themselves. That's why they're here. Addiction is self-hatred, total lack of self-acceptance. And so pointing out what's wrong only sends them deeper into the darkness. Instead, say you're worth it. You're worth it. I'm not going to enable you, because enabling them keeps them stuck as well. We're master manipulators, not because we want to be, but because it's the only thing we understand. It's the game that we learned as a child. How do I get what I want? How do I get my mom's love? Oh, I play this game. And then she comes to help me and rescue me. Or how do I get this person's attention? When I'm a victim, somebody always saves me. Think about that. As a kid, we're trained, when I'm a victim, I get saved. So we learn how to create experiences where we need saving, thinking that's love. So we have to learn a new behavior, and that's the body armor, that's the thinking. That's pausing and saying, whoa, how can I get this reward in a new way? How can I get the same outcome through different behaviors? And that process is painful. It's very painful, and it's very scary, because we really don't know how to function. And there's going to be a period of time where it feels like you want to kill each other, because you're both learning new behavior. The enabler is learning to stop rescuing. And the addict is learning to stop manipulating and how to accept responsibility and take their power back. And so there's going to be this tug of war where we're going to push each other's buttons and push each other's to the limit. Are you really done playing this game? And at the end, we try harder to manipulate you and play this only game that we know until we finally surrender. Say, okay, how do I do this differently? And again, that surrender is when all the tinglies come in, which just create more pain. And you have to work through the rage. You have to work through the anger, because it needs to come out of the body. And that's pretty much what I've discovered and what I work with people with. and how to get that anger, that rage, that emotion out in a productive way, how to transform defects into assets, because we don't have character defects. What we have is a very limited toolbox. That rage, that anger, that emotion, it's passion. It's passion. It's passion inside of us that's been stuffed because we didn't feel comfortable expressing ourselves in a way that was healthy. We didn't feel safe to show up. So all that passion got stuffed and turned to rage and anger. So we unlock that and turn it back to passion and turn it into doing something you love. For me, that's writing. That's doing this work. It's showing other people the path. You don't have to live like this, but you do have to be willing to move through the pain. You have to be willing to show humility. That was a hard one for me, to humble myself. This is such a humbling process. Even now, making this video, I'm doing it. I've needed to do this for a long time. But I think I don't look good. I'm moving through my own pain. I've been crying so much lately that I wanted to wait until my eyes look better, till my face looked better. But if I keep waiting until I feel ready, I'm never going to be ready. I'm always going to come up with excuses. And that's what we do. It's fear. So no matter how successful or far you get, it's a process of continuously moving through the fear with courage, knowing that on the other side, something magical is going to happen. But you have to be willing to face the fear, to face yourself, to take responsibility for yourself. Both the addict and the enabler. Because the enabler is getting a reward as well. Most enablers need to feel needed. They're caregivers. And while it's fun to do as children to the child, and it's fun to have that little kid need you, it sucks when we're adults for both parties. It totally sucks. Because as an adult, we have no skills, no processing, no ability to figure out how to function in the world. And as a teenager, the outburst, the emotion is accepted because they're being a teenager. In our 30s, our 40s, our 50s, that behavior is no longer acceptable. Now I don't even want to say the names I've been called. So anyway, I hope that this really helps unlock and shed some light on the mind of an addict and kind of what we go through in this process. The body armor, the movies in our mind. And I want to just recap all of that. The movies in our mind, if that rage, that anger, or whatever's coming out is met with expected behavior of combative, more rage, more anger, then it creates more angry rage curtains. And it's the expected behavior. So if that rage, that hate, that emotion that seems aggressive and angry and makes everyone uncomfortable is met with compassion and grace, we're now putting new curtains in. It's reframing the curtains. So you can only go through so many layers of curtains of pain and rage and anger before then the love, compassion, and acceptance curtains come in. And once we see love and compassion and say, oh my gosh, I lashed out at that person and they weren't mean to me. They didn't attack me. They're safe. And when it's safe to feel, it's safe to show up. And so the more you can just meet that anger and that rage with compassion and love, the faster they'll heal themselves, because they won't be scared to show up anymore. And that goes for both parties, the enabler and the addict, because the enabler is going through their same trauma. So this isn't the enabler's job to heal the addict, and it's not the addict's job to heal the enabler. Each need to take responsibility for their own part and not continue to take it out on each other or blame each other. Which leads me to a whole nother topic that I have discussed with people, which is blame. To me, blame is an unnecessary emotion or energy. Without blame, we don't need to forgive either. We can eliminate the whole process of forgiving and blaming if we choose acceptance and take responsibility for ourselves. That's a big one. I have learned that not to blame anyone, including myself. Each experience was an experience that taught me something. And if I keep recreating the experience, I only have one person I can blame, myself, because I keep recreating the experience. Instead, to be able to sit back and look at the experience and say, wow, what is that teaching me? That experience sucked. Let's stop playing that game. Let's see, when I was in victim mode, then I got rescued, and then I felt helpless, and then I felt hopeless, and I felt stuck. How do I stop playing that game? What is my goal? Connection. Did I actually get connection? No. What I got was pain, tears, fighting. So what would a healthy connection look like? And how can I reframe that? And that's what I had to work through. And each experience is different. Each person is different. And we all have our own stories. But it's a matter of changing that story and learning from the experience. So yes, I'm not saying don't forgive people in your life. Please go through. But in the process of forgiving, I'm going to ask you to look at yourself and say, what did I learn about myself? Not only am I forgiving them, but I'm forgiving myself. Because forgiving another person has nothing to do with that person. It has to do with letting go of the venom that's inside of us. And being able to love that person for what they taught us. And if this is something that you would like more information about or would like to learn more about, then I invite you to explore my website, Groovy Willow Green, or schedule a discovery call with me, and we can kind of talk about what the next step is or how to go from here. But at least understanding what's happening, I hope helps you a little bit, and helps you love and accept both yourself and the people that you enjoy in your life more. So thank you so much for your time and your energy. Like I said, please connect with me at Groovy Willow Green if you'd like to learn more, or email me at groovywillowgreen@gmail.com. I would love your feedback. I would love questions. I would be happy to share more information. Just tell me what you want to know. Thank you, and have a beautiful day.